I would suggest not asking questions. But let's just say it's been a year. Many things have occurred. If you're unfamiliar with this channel and this is your first video, what an introduction. I should really wash my hands. Anyway, welcome to this year's Halloween reaction. I can't wait to break down some voices for you. This year I'll be breaking down the vocals from a band that I certainly haven't heard before. I don't think Video Julia's heard them before either. But we're going to be reacting to Motionless In White and their song, funnily enough, Werewolf. So, let's get into it.
I can feel you, I can hear you howling in my bones. There's an evil lurking in the dark. Ever-shifting skin is ripping as you take control. I can't tell where you end and where I start. A ferocious diagnosis under moonlit hands. Well, the man become the monster, or the monster become man. I could be up all night, but I'm paralyzed when the creature comes alive. Cause it's fight or fright in the full moonlight. You can run, but you can't hide. I can be honest, I can be human. I can become the silver bullet in your head. But no one can break my heart like I can.
Don't think I didn't see the moon in your eyes, young lady. Between you and me, that's a terrible idea. I mean, I only go crazy when provoked. Werewolves, I'm sorry. A giant floaty space rock, that's enough provocation. To each their own, but can't say I would do that again. What am I doing? Oh, it's voice breakdowns. That's why we're here. So far, I would like to comment on how fun that chorus is. I wasn't expecting it to immediately be catchy like that, but I suppose that makes sense considering there appears to be a lot of pop influences coming through in this particular style. I love the steady groove that's being set up by the synth. But vocally, what's happening is also fun because he's going from periods of constriction on specific words, and it sounds like this is quite intentional, to make the word stand out. This is something that a lot of people can do quite easily when they're talking. For example, what I just did then on talking. Constricted the pharynx, compressed the sound, it makes it sound tighter. And I'm using more breath flow to force that sound out, and so that's why we're hearing what sounds like more effort or something that requires energy, because it does. And he's doing that on a few little lines. And then he's also doing something interesting where he's flipping from a much softer mechanism. And if you're unfamiliar with soft mechanism is just a term that's used to describe different registers if you're perceiving them as a vocal fold behavior, if you will. So first mechanism, which is the one that I'm using right now, and the one you use when you're talking, everyone uses when they're talking, is called first mechanism, or first register, speech register. There's lots of words for it. Registration is altogether a very confusing topic, actually, but in this particular case, we're looking at the vocal folds staying rather fat and touching from top to bottom throughout the entire vibratory cycle. That's what first mechanism means. Second mechanism is just the top of the vocal folds doing this. So when we're starting in the beginning here, let me see if I can find it. Yes, there. That was a good example. Do we hear how soft he is in the beginning of this, and then it gets very full, and then it goes back to soft? Listening again. So he's playing with mass and breathiness. You know, I mentioned that full top to bottom, vibratory, touchy. Yes, we like this. Well, there's something else that can creep into sound, and that is air. One might automatically assume that we are in second register just because something is slightly more breathy. This is not always the case. You can have a breathy first register. It just means that part of the fold on that closure side of things is not touching. Where the speech connects is when you're hearing it get a little bit fuller. So he's starting off with something breathy, he could be in a lighter speech mode where the vocal folds are not quite as fat. That closure is still happening, but mass-wise, they're not quite as dense. They've lengthened a little bit, probably for him to reach that note, because that's what needs to happen physiologically for you to go up in pitch. Lengthen, thin, etc. He's got breathiness in there, which means that breath is escaping through the vocal folds, and then that contact as he brings that back together. All you're hearing there is a difference in the degree of contact, meaning that breathiness, not as much contact, more air is coming through. Closure, we get that fullness of tone. That is that contact. Means the vocal folds are coming together. And another thing that I'm usually listening for when it comes to register or mode or mechanism or whatever is how heavy something may sound. It's a little easier to make something seem like it is heavier if we are fully in speech register, which is what he goes to there. Let's listen again. We've got breathiness with a lighter setup. So that's that breath coming through, aspiration. And then we have a little bit more of a mix happening, which means some mass is now getting that full closure. We're not letting as much breath through. And then he gets softer again, aspiration back, and then we get something a little heavier. And this means that mass is getting that full closure. He's not mixing as much. And this gives us all these delightful weights and textures that we're hearing in this sound. And yes, different amounts of breath being let in the sound and different amount of closure also means he's having to work with the degree of breath pressure, the amount of air that he is using throughout that entire phrase. So vocally, it's rather fun. So in plain speak, he's doing very cool things with the amount of air that's coming through, the amount of closure that he's working with, and the changes in breath pressure and breath flow and amount of air necessary for what it is that he's doing in that section. And the result is something that is engaging to listen to. So let's continue.
Ferocious diagnosis under moonlit hands. Well, the man become the monster, or the monster become man. I could be up all night, but I'm paralyzed when the creature comes.
I know I said I was going to continue, but I just thought it was quite cool how the production elements on the beginning of what that drum kit was doing, they almost muted it. It almost sounded like a toy in the beginning, and it's part of the pullback of the volume there is so that we feel that pickup and the drop into the music a little bit more. Gosh, that's very cute. Let's listen to that again.
I could be up all night, but I'm paralyzed when the creature comes alive. 'Cause it's fight or fright in the full moonlight. You can run, but you can't hide. I can be honest, I can be human. I can become the silver bullet in your head. But no one can break my heart like I can. Werewolf.
That sounds more like production to me. I would be very curious to hear if he could do that in real life, though. Without the production, maybe? Something under it. I think I'm overthinking this now.
Out from the bite marks there, the bits are sweet. Smile for the camera, but don't flash your teeth. Let the bodies hit the dance floor to this heartbreak beat. I feel like somebody's watching me. Feels like everybody's watching me. Seductively dis-
Oh my goodness, they snuck a Rockwell reference in there. Oh, I love musical referencing. That's so cute. How clever. I mean, definitely appropriate for the spooky season, I would say.
Dance floor to this heartbreak beat. I feel like somebody's watching me. Feels like
So here we have two shifts in the approach, two different techniques. The first, very speech-based. He's sitting, what I'm assuming is a little lower in his speech range. We're using more of a conversational tone. So first register, for sure, fat folds, although we are letting aspiration peek through. I would say that this type of speech approach is a little bit more on the tense side, so that we get this breathiness that's coming through in the sound. What happens there is vocal folds go into tension, and it is that tension that actually stops them coming fully together. This is why sometimes people who whisper all the time, they actually lose their voices, because in order to whisper, the vocal folds are constantly in tension. And it is that tension which eventually fatigues the folds, causes some other vocal fold behavioral problems, shall we say. It can do. It's not always going to. We must not deal in absolutes. I'm a vampire, not a Sith. But if he was to do this live, it means that he would have to go from something that is very speechy and a little breathy to what I would class as more of a pop-applicable belt. And the reason why I'm calling it a pop-applicable belt is because this lightness and the placement of it that you will hear in a lot of pop belters. So as it's coming forward, instead of something that is heavier and dark and broad, we're getting something that's a little bit more narrow and sitting forward. We're going to be making adjustments in the vocal tract to allow for twang. Not twang like I'm from the South, but I mean twang as in the vocal acoustic phenomena of having another resonating cavity, which strengthens harmonics. And while his approach may be quite pop, you can hear him draw from influences with other genres. He does bring distortion into watching. Let's continue.
Somebody's watching me. Feels like everybody's watching me. Seductively destructive, we are true.
Very cool layering there. Let's go back and re-listen to it. It's a perfect showcase of the duality of what his voice is capable of. I'm not sure if it's a backup singer. It sounds like it's him, but you hear that lighter setup that he uses earlier that he switches in and out of, as well as the fine, balancey mixed sound. So he's sitting very comfortably in what sounds like a melody that's sitting slightly higher. I almost feel like he's making that seem easier than it is. Bum, 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 bum. I know it sounds like he's doing it fairly easily, and that's because for him, he is. But he's actually sitting up in the fourth octave. And I know that that might seem not very high, but for a male vocalist, it actually is. A lot of male vocalists will start to belt around the very first entry into the fourth octave. He's up balanced and sounding perfectly comfortable in the middle of the fourth octave. So, range-wise, kudos, sir.
We are true romancers. The man become the monster, or the monster become man. I could be up all night, but I'm paralyzed when the creature comes alive. Cause it's fight or fright in the full moonlight. You can run, but you can't hide. I can be honest, I can be human, I can become.
It's also this whiny approach into the sound that's a little bit pop. I'm sorry, we're going to keep going.
Cause it's fight or fright in the full moonlight. You can run, but you can't hide. I can be honest, I can be human, I can become the silver bullet in your head. But you can't break my heart like I can. Fight these cravings in the night. A beast who's burning by his fight. Can't fight these cravings in the night.
Sitting so comfortably in a light, balanced, easy, speechy tone on a C4. Oh my god, dude.
Can't fight these cravings in the night. You can't break my heart like I can.
As opposed to that belting. Oh my god, we have such a good little bit of subglottic pressure building there. Subglottic meaning vocal folds are closed. Space underneath it, because vocal folds are closed, we build up some pressure because that breath flow hasn't stopped. And then as the vocal folds keep on vibrating, we're getting full fold closure as the vocal folds come back together. Oh, it's great. His placement's so bright, so consistent. I haven't heard this vocalist before, but I would put him in the tenor basket. I'm curious if that's production or if he's actually using his false folds in that sound. That's very cool if he is. It's a Halloween party. Why are they so scared?
I can be up all night, but I'm paralyzed when the creature comes alive. Don't wanna
We got vibrato. That's a statement. We're going to keep going. I'll explain more
when the
later.
creature comes alive. Don't wanna feel. I can be honest, I can be human, I can become the silver bullet in your head. Oh,
first time listening to Motionless in White, I must admit I want to hear a little bit more from this vocalist because he demonstrated great range. I feel like I hit the 3 vocal qualities that he utilized most, which was that what sounds like more of a staticky distortion. He has that very bright, acoustically powerful, very forward-sitting belt. And he's utilizing speech range and then aspiration coming through there. So I feel like I already touched on that a little bit. Creatively, this song was catchy as heck. And I'm not mad that I know of its existence now and have listened to it because I would listen to it again. So thank you to Video Julia's Patreons who voted for this year's Halloween reaction, because without them, I wouldn't have done this song. There are a couple of creative things I want to ask about, though. Lyrically, give me one moment, because there was one line in the chorus that stuck out to me as, while appropriate for werewolves, considering their moodiness, I'm not sure if it fits, but I could be wrong. It has happened before. Once in 1563. Yes, okay. So these are our lyrics. Because it's fight or fright in the full moonlight. You can run, but you can't hide. I could be honest, I could be human, I could become the silver bullet in your head. No, thank you. But no one can break my heart like I can. No one can break my heart like I can. It's an interesting line. It's a strong line. But I'm unsure where it fits. Because I feel like there may be comparisons to the paranormal and his experiences as a human being. Experience that could happen with the absence of romance, with the absence of having their heart in something. I'm just trying to find the link here creatively, because as I'm listening to these lyrics, I'm unsure where it connects, to be honest. And it's the only line that stood out to me as I was listening, going, that's a cool line. Random. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I'm just not a romantic. I mean, that would check out. But you tell me, why does this fit for you? I'm curious. I want to know. I want to know. Anyways, thank you for attending this year's Halloween reaction. And if you must be out there enjoying werewolves, be safe. Happy Halloween. Oh gosh, no, that's not good. Oh no! I mean, at least I know it will come out. Oh my god, Motionless in White, Werewolf. That's hilarious because vampire werewolf, whatever. Speaking of voice breakdowns, has anyone seen Video Julia? It's been quite a while. Perhaps I should check up on her. Oh my god, I almost spilled wine! Shoot! I mean, I guess it's not that much different to having to clean other red liquids up off the floor. This is the wrong room for that. Here's something that is lighter in welt?